Okay, I'm going to move on to the second layer of my fox here, and my background is done. So what I want to do is start focusing on the object in the middle ground, and I made this little tool here. It's just a piece of white paper with a hole cut out of it so that I can really see and isolate each color, because what I think in my head might be the color and say, oh, I know a fox is orange. Well, is it really orange, or is it more dull? Is it more gray over here, more beige? So by cutting this out, I can isolate each color and start to paint more detail. So first I'm going to start by mixing my color on my plate palette over here, which is what I have to work with. And I'm going to try to get some of these colors. I know I'm going to start with an orange and maybe dull that out with a little blue, and maybe sample it on the page here. That's more of a yellow orange, which means if I add blue to it, it's going to turn more green. So let's go back up to orange. Take my blue and dull that out. And I just keep painting. I am going to grab maybe some reddish to put in here, some more red tones. Grab my water and go ahead and put the color down in the area where it needs to be. This is why pre-mixing our colors helps, so that I'm not mixing while the color is drying. And I'm just placing colors where I see them. I am going to pre-wet this surface a little more. Maybe tomorrow I will take off the tape resistance where it resisted the water. There's some reddish tone up in here, maybe some red violet again. Over in his neck. I'm going to need some darker brown over here. And just remember, as you're painting at home, this is just my example, and your painting obviously is going to look different than my painting. And this is indeed gray in here, and he's got some gray texture going on in here. Underneath him, right here, he's a little darker. I'm trying to keep, that's a little too dark. So if you get too dark, we can just lift with a dry brush, tap that off, dry it off, and lift up again. Over in his face, it does need to come off, but I am going to make this reddish orange color for up on his face. And here is underneath. I want to make it a little lighter, so I'm going to add some more water. And again, I just come around. Let's go under his eye here. And there is some more of this color in here. I'll work on textures tomorrow, but I just want to get all of these shadows and highlights and these layers built up where I see them. Here's this leg down here. It's a darker leg. And that leg comes into here. And now I'm going to work in this area. It extends beyond here, this yellow-orange color. And then I'm going to make that, it's kind of like a flesh tone. So a flesh tone, as we know, is mixed with red, yellow, and green, but I have it here from some other tones, and I believe there's a hair on here. So again, I'm looking at this area in here, this nice beigey fur color on the back of him, and that goes into his tail. And I think maybe for his tail, I am going to add the beige color into it over here, bring that through. Maybe down under his eye here. And over into his ear. And again, add the darkness in his ear here. There's a shadow here and there's a shadow here. So bring that shadow in here and bring this one down into here. This is, you know, again, like I said, there's no exact science to this. Bring his eye down over into here. Everybody's image is going to be different. So everyone's using different, there's his little nose. Everyone's using different techniques. And underneath him, I'm going to grab this and put this under his chin again, grab some darker and make sure the shadow's down in here, and then give him some shadow down in here. So you're just looking at all the different shadows, and he does have dark in this leg down here and definitely down in this one. And then this blends out into that color. So as you can see, my fox is definitely layered with a lot of different colors. Today I may take this piece of tape, masking tape, off, since I do have this creamy color already mixed, and then I can come over his back this way. Throw that on there. There we go. Come down into his tail. And I might, you know what, I see all these little black parts in his tail. So let's do, what I think would be interesting is maybe if I did a black, it's tinted though, it's never pure. If I started along the bottom of his tail here, I'm looking at his tail, and grab this, and let's see if I can come over and give him some fur texture by pulling the edge. There we go. Come up and around and scrape it across the surface. Cool. All right, I like how he's turning out. Maybe take a dry brush. Again, I'm mixing all my different techniques to just form some textures and the general look of this picture. It's my representation of it. It is not an exact science again. I'm going to move forward down into this rock here. You can see how cool the plastic wrap left this. This texture. So now I'm going to come over it and add some more of the plain gray down into the rock here. Maybe grab a bigger brush. There we go. And this comes down over into here, and then solid over into here, and definitely darker into here over on this side of the rock. There are some dark spots on this side of my rock over here. If I get the surface too wet again, what's going to happen is it all starts blending together, which isn't the worst case scenario. And I do want to grab some maybe of this, I'll go more pink on it. Let's grab here. Top of the rock. And then I can start using, I want to mix some of the green grasses. And this is definitely going to be a dry brush technique with this large brush because I want these to be individual tall grass like this. Here we go. Tomorrow I'll probably use some credit card, the edge of the credit card like I used. That's a little too dark, but that's okay. There's some dark spots down in here, some darker green. Let's brighten that up just a smidge. And you can see how the dry brush coming up. Cool. Let's get some more yellow in here. And in here, and some of these green grasses over in here. Slowly but surely, I'm building up my surface. There's some green grass in here. And then there's definitely some darker tones in the grass down in here. Really dry so that I'm just scraping across the surface. And then in here, I'm going to need some more color to that. Not a lot of water. Into here. I'm not a fan of how that turned out, which is okay. All I can do is go back over it with some water and wipe it clean. Grab some more green. And come back in through here. There we go. Blend it a little more. And again, like I said, I would use my credit card tomorrow. Now there are some orangey spots, so I'm going to take some brown and some of my red violet and probably some more of this yellow orange. There we go. And under the rock here, there's this color that's way too wet. So grab some of these grasses in here with these colors on them. And it's definitely over into here also. And I'm slowly working my way across the surface. This is a pretty big chunk of it in here, so I am going to try to echo some of that up into here so it doesn't stand out so much. And then there's some yellow. Let me dry this off, clean it out. And I'm going to say probably this is it for the day on this painting, at least until this dries, this surface. Nothing needs to be exact. Again, this is all just how you can represent what you see in this image. More dry brush. Dry brush still has water in it, but, and maybe some darker area over in here, which is a bummer. I really liked how this had turned out, but it's got to get some shadows down in here in the water, our murky water. So my water is horizontal. Let's get a little blue-green in here going again. Ooh, maybe even some blue. I do see some more bluish color in here, which means you all know if I put some blue, tints of blue over here, I also need to bring the blue throughout the painting. So maybe some over in here. And where else can I add some? Maybe some up in here. And down over here. And then of course, right over into here. Cool. Well, I'm going to say that this little guy is probably going to be done for the day until he dries a little more. And I'll carry on with some more textures tomorrow.